Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Unfiltered Veterinary Discussions. Today, I have myself, Kelly, and Peter, and a new member is joining us, Stacy Santee. Please welcome her. You can see all our bios at unfilteredvetdiscussions.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn, Instagram. We have a new YouTube channel and Facebook. So come give us your thoughts in the comments. We would love to hear from you. Today, we are going to discuss the topic of clients are feeling the pinch, as in financial. So Peter, do you want to help round that out a little bit?
Yeah, in our pre-talk, we were talking about the fact that both Kelly, Stacy, and myself are now consumers of veterinary services. We don't own veterinary hospitals. And I commented that I had visited 6 hospitals about a week or two ago in the Orange County area. Was interested to see what the fee schedules were and the cost of care, and watch the presentation of the estimate or healthcare plan to the clients, and just watch clients negotiate and discussing and debating the cost of care, and basically declining certain services in exchange for certain others, or declining services that weren't absolutely needed. And it just brought me back to the fact that it wasn't that long ago that we had clients beating down our doors. Well, they weren't beating down the doors. They were sitting in the parking lot in their cars saying that, oh, do everything, it doesn't matter. So I really do think, as our costs of doing business have gone up because of payroll increases and cost of goods increases, and we have raised our veterinary fees faster and higher than national inflation, we are starting to hit a wall, and clients are feeling a pinch financially. They're pinching their wallets more than they had in the past. And I know Stacy probably has some stories she can share from her standpoint as well. But this is something that I'm feeling in talking to pet owners, and in just talking about the veterinary profession globally.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been a vet for more than 5 minutes, you've had already a financial discussion with a client. That's normal for us. But what I'm seeing is more people having financial questions about the services and the care they're getting. People that you wouldn't expect. Your top clients are starting to question it. And just this week, I was at Big Five, ran into an old client, and they're like a A-list client, and they're saying, I can't go to your old practice anymore, it's too expensive. And then I go to the dermatologist, and they're saying, we used to go to your practice, but we're looking around because it's too expensive. And these are people that have a history of being top performers at the clinic, but even now they're feeling the pinch. And you have to ask yourself, okay, when is it too much? Like, have we reached a ceiling? I think we have, because now we're not able to fulfill our purpose as veterinarians if we've outpriced ourselves from our market. And it turns into we're having more financial conversations than ever, because more people are concerned about, is this really necessary? Do I have to do all of this? I can't believe it's more expensive than getting an x-ray for my own self. We're starting to hear this, and it ultimately starts to affect trust and confidence in the profession.
And we're seeing people from the marketing side, you need more marketing if you don't have enough clients, right? So we're hearing clients and people looking to become clients saying, I actually have time in my schedule. Like, at first that was okay because I needed to catch my breath for a little bit from the last, onslaught of years. But they're like, I can't toss the ball against the wall in my office anymore. Like, I need to see people. I need to see patients. I need tails through the door. Help us out. How do we do that? Right. And so we're seeing that come through on the marketing side. That's not one person, that's not one hospital, it's multiple hospitals having that conversation with us.
Well, Kelly, you've got a special needs dog.
I do.
and I'm sure you're feeling the pinch as a consumer as well, and not even having been in the trenches, although you work peripheral to the trenches. I've got to believe you have to shake your head when you walk out, even though you support the profession and say, WTF.
I do, Peter. Actually, the conversation is, I have pet insurance, and my conversation is, I know what's covered by pet insurance and I know what's not covered by pet insurance, because Noah is special needs thyroid. Like, that's twice a year blood panel work, hands down. That's just to keep him even, right, with the thyroid issues. And I'm like, yeah, I'm making choices. Like, yeah, okay, the blood panel is necessary, but these other things you want to do underneath wellness care, my pet insurance doesn't cover that. So let's discuss why we need that. It's not saying I won't purchase it, but like Stacy's, to your point, it's like I need to understand versus just the write a check moment. And I actually broke up services because they're like, well, we can smudge this in. I'm like, it's not a 6 months for his blood panel. I will drive him back to have a vet appointment. A tech appointment just to draw blood so you can run the panel. That's actually tomorrow. So good timing on this conversation. But yes, I'm definitely feeling the pinch. And then you think about, I'm sure people are thinking about what they feed their dogs and things. I personally make dog food because Noah's, my oldest, is allergic to chicken, which is in everything. But just things like dog food. Where are you buying the more expensive brand, or are people downgrading to a lesser expensive brand? I don't have those numbers. I don't have those answers. I just have questions. But I'm guessing there's numbers out there that are probably starting to show that trend as well.
It's interesting because if you look at the data and the statistics that are coming out from the different companies that aggregate, they indicate that veterinary fees continue to escalate at 4 to 5%. Excuse me, let me reword that. Veterinary revenues continue to increase 4 to 5%, but veterinary transactions are down 2%. So we're making more money by seeing fewer people, which really can only be reflected in having higher fees and higher charges. So I like to think of it, are we milking the cow or are we making ground beef out of it? Because we are probably getting as much as we can out of our better clients, but we're forcing our B clients, based on categorizations, and C clients to think again and to think differently. And that is not why most of us are in the profession. We're in the profession to make a difference with the patients that we care for. It also increases the length of time needed in an exam room when, and Stacy nailed it in her comments, when we are starting to violate the trust. And I think clients are beginning to question their relationship with us, and that leads to more work for the doctor in the room, more work for the tech in the room, and the person who takes the bullet is the woman at the front desk or man at the front desk wearing Kevlar, who is collecting the invoice and trying to defend the value proposition. So I think we've got a lot of moving parts that need to be addressed in this question. And it's not just a simple, this is a far from simple answer.
So,
Well, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to bring up a statement and then I'll pass it over to you. I personally am on no social media things except Instagram, because I take pictures of the sun when we have it in Minnesota and I put it up. It's my portfolio. So I'm just going to open a disclaimer, but when you're on there and I'm checking out what the teenagers doing, you see ads. And my point of this little story is, Stacy, going back to your trust, the ads are starting to say, your veterinarian tells you this, but it's wrong. Like they're taking that opportunity you said of losing trust, right, with the patient, taking that as a marketable opportunity as a business, wedging themselves in there and saying, no, buy our product because your veterinarian is not trustful, right? And I just didn't put that together until we had this conversation. So I'm just going to toss that back over to you. Sorry to overrun you, but it's interesting, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is. And I think, you know, like you said, Peter, we are raising our fees. We started doing this. I can't remember when we started raising fees. It seemed like to me it became a practice in like the early 2000s. I could be wrong on that, but it was a once a year to twice a year fee increase. Nobody noticed. I mean, it was normal standard practice to do this if you were a healthy hospital, healthy business. But now I think we've reached a ceiling, you guys, and you're going to find this ironic to come from me, but I think we have too much technology, and I think we have too much bells and whistles that we've put into the practice. And we kind of started, it became easier for general practices to have more of an ivory tower approach to medicine and surgery. You know, it's not unusual to have a CO2 laser, fancy blood tests. I can do chemo in my practice now. I can do lots of things that I couldn't do back in the early 2000s. I can have all this digital x-ray, all the latest and greatest tools. And these things are actually addictive to the veterinarian because they improve outcomes. And so of course we want them because we want the best for our patients, but somebody has to pay for that. And what we typically do is pass the cost to the owner so we can keep the margin for the clinic. And I think the margin in veterinary medicine is got to change. It's too high now because the people that are paying the price are the people that work in the clinic. They are the ones subsidizing all of this great technology and medicine and advances and innovations that we're utilizing.
So how do you back the truck up, you two? Peter,
I don't think we can back.
before?
Yeah, I don't think we can back the truck up, and I don't think we can undo and unring the bell or whatever other cliches. We have an interesting dilemma, and as you noted, I just came back from Australia. The minimum wage in a veterinary hospital in Australia is $25 an hour. So we have seen one of the biggest reasons that we've seen the fee increases occurred with the workforce issues that were going on during the pandemic. And we have seen an escalation of new graduate salaries by about 10% per year. And I have no problem with that. And we've seen an escalation in credentialed technician salaries by significant amounts, as well as everybody else on the team, including the increase in minimum wages in a lot of states. So our cost of doing business on the people side has gone up dramatically. Compound that with the cost of doing business on the product side. I mean, the cost of everything that goes into running the business has gone up. So there's been an expense increase. And if you want to keep that margin, let's just say we want to keep a margin at 15 to 20%. So we have a practice of value going forward. Well, you either do it by earns or turns. In other words, charge more or see more people. And if you can do both, it's great. But it usually doesn't work that way.
Well, and I think, go ahead.
So how do we continue to keep a sufficient margin so the practice has a value to an ultimate buyer and to ourselves as a business owner while giving clients the value proposition that they deserve?
I think the key for me, my perspective, this is mine, is there's now more than ever, it is so important to match yourself with the right clientele, because what we have are people, a lot of people that want to treat their pet to the maximum level because they view it as maybe a child, right? Like this is their thing. They love their pet more than anything, and they want it to live no matter what. These are the people you can do all of the things for. But then we have the other people that maybe don't subscribe necessarily to that theory. And it's still a loved pet, truly loved, but they aren't going to be spending tens of thousands of dollars on their pet based on their lifestyle and their beliefs. And that is totally okay. And so the mismatch comes when we treat everybody as if they want everything. And I just ran into this guy. He is my financial advisor, super smart, super nice, platinum client. He has a 13-year-old golden retriever, and he expressed to me he's frustrated because he can't get Rimadyl for his dog unless he does the blood work. And he goes, I understand the risks of the blood work. I get it. I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it. I just want the Rimadyl. He's 13. I'm questioning if he should be euthanized even. And he's thinking about it, and he wants to decline, and the clinic won't move. And so sometimes we have this blanket approach where we're treating everybody the same. And I think that is catching up to us. What do you guys think?
As a pet owner and also listening to pet hospitals, I think, Stacy, it's treating the same and also fear of not having clients. So like, I got to take every client, right? Versus the right client for that hospital, like matching who they are to the demographic is basically what you're saying, right? So I see it, and then treating that demographic holistically the same. So I see it as two parts. They just want everybody, maybe it's not the right fit, and that causes problems. And then also then treating everybody the same. And as a pet owner, I just want to be listened to. Like the golden retriever financial guy, what he's really saying to you is, my pet is on his way out. I'm grieving already for it. I don't know if it's time or not time. I'm not ready yet. I still need more time to decide if it's time. And so I just need a little bandwidth here to keep my dog in comfort while I make these big transition decisions, right? And so he's really saying, you're not listening to me. I'm not feeling
I think there is a need to address all of this with different business models that look at stratifying clients. And I hate to put it in those terms, but look at stratifying clients. Now, we used to call them A, B, C, and D, gold, silver, platinum, bronze, whatever you want to call it. But I don't think we can make everybody happy, and we try to. And we try to be a jack of all trades and end up being a master of none. So many of the new business models, call them concierge, call them membership, whatever you want to call them, might be heading in the right direction to say, okay, here is the stratification. Here's what you're going to get for this price. And like the main street of Durango, Colorado, has Ruth Chris and McDonald's and probably Black Angus somewhere in between, we may need to have, 7-Eleven, Kmart, and Target, and Nordstrom's, however we want to do it. But I think when you have a client who wants a Big Mac walking into a steakhouse, they're not going to get it. And I think we have to start to think in those terms. And you can make $1 million seeing 1,000 people over a year at $1,000, or 100,000 people at $10. And so depends on what you want to have as your vision for your practice. But I think the vision for your practice of trying to keep everybody happy is going to make nobody happy and put an inordinate amount of stress on your veterinary team. And it forces us to have the conversation with two people at the front desk, especially if you're taking money at your front desk, who had the same services, one of whom can afford it and the other whom is being pushed by it. And now all of a sudden you get people putting on a show in your lobby. And I think we have to start to really, it's all about thinking about different business models going forward. We can't be James Herriot to everybody.
So does that mean we have to change?
Yes.
right?
It's ironic because I was walking the dog this morning listening, and REO Speedwagon came on with Roll with the Changes. And it's like, damn, so good for veterinary medicine, except we don't roll well. We roll and pee all over ourselves like a golden retriever. So what do you think, Stacy? I mean, you were a hospital owner. If you were to build a hospital in 2024, 25, and I know you're planning to do that.
Not, but if I was, I think, it is hard to ask someone, is your pet like a kid to you? Do you spend everything on it? Or are you more of a just get it done, doc, do your best, doc? Because I have serviced both kinds of clients. And I think that somehow you have to use your skills to figure out which kind of client you're working with and tailor your recommendations and your conversation to them so that ultimately there's trust between the veterinarian and the client. They feel heard, you understand their goals and their means in your partnership. I think that's the kind of clinic I enjoy working in. That's the kind of clinic I would build if I was building another one, which I am not. But if I was, it would definitely be relationship focused and recognizing that everybody's different and it's all okay. And we're not going to be judgy and we're going to help people do what they want to do with their pet.
So Peter, why don't you wrap us up today? And we will also say hello to Cody, who's joined us. And then we will say adieu. So Peter, what do you have final thoughts?
I think we just scratched the surface on a very important topic in veterinary medicine, which is trust. It started out as a conversation on cost of care, but I think the cost of care is all about relationships, and the cost of care can strengthen trust or violate trust. And I think because we've started to see more and more challenges economically, and some of them are inflationary, and we've seen that in all sorts of other industries, grocery stores, et cetera. But in veterinary medicine, we're talking about a relationship between a pet owner and a pet. They come in to see the doctor and their team because they trust them. And when they can't afford that care, they start to question that trust. And so I think we are at a very important time in veterinary medicine where we need to sit down as a profession and try to figure out how we can meet the needs of our pet owners and not violate that trust. Because for millennia, since Noah, the first veterinarian, we have had a tremendous amount of respect from the pet owning population. And now is not the time to lose that. So we can't afford, I like that. There's a tie together. We can't afford to lose the trust of our pet owning population and clients.
Well, thank you for that. And we will all see you next time on Unfiltered Vet Discussions. Adieu.